After taking the exam, it's a good idea to take a look at the examiner's report. By reading the examiner's report, you'll have a sense of whether the problem that you faced is the same problem that the rest of the world faced. How did you do in the exam? You get a sense of reality, and this sense of reality will give you a better perspective whether how good or how bad is your preparation compared to the rest of the world. Now, the sums that you did, if everyone else faced the same problem, that means you're in good company and you can learn from that. So the first thing that it says, there was no general indication that the examination paper was too long, with many candidates attempting most of the questions. So many candidates attempting most of the questions. You have to understand the language they use. So what is the difference between many and most? Well, many might mean more than 80%. Most might mean if there are 11 questions, maybe they attempted 10 or 9 questions, something like that. Overall, the standard of presentation and clarity of work was high. Remember, the standard of presentation and clarity, how clearly you present your work, it is very important for them. You cannot just write down the answer and that's it. It has to be clear and presented very well. A few candidates did not use the graph paper in the examination booklet. It is very, very important to use graph paper and use the graph paper that is printed in the question. This is very, very important. So use the graph paper given in the examination booklet. Now, once again, it was pleasing to observe that many of the candidates have a good understanding of the basic techniques of arithmetic. Then we have algebra and 2D trigonometry. So basic arithmetic, calculation, presentation, algebra, and 2D trigonometry. This is something they're stressing here. Now, the major discriminating question. Major discriminating question means when you have questions that most of the people couldn't do. So that's what they mean by major discriminating question. So remember this. Major discriminating questions. So major discriminating questions are questions that most people couldn't answer. So first of all, question number 6, drawing histogram. So most people, remember, major discriminating question. So most people had a problem in drawing histogram in this paper. The next one is question number 5A1. Question number 5A1 is the volume sum, where you have to find the volume of a cone. So that uses the concept of similarity. So that's a major discriminating question. Then question number 7, C1 and C2, the use of ratios. Remember, this time question number 7, vectors. It is similarity. It is more of similarity, geometry similarity than vector. So most people found a problem in similarity concept. Then question number 10A, question number 10A and question number 11. Okay, question number 10A and E is this question. When you have this rectangle and this semicircle, you have to prove this expression. So this is usually given in a maximum minimum differentiation sum, where you have to prove an expression using the area and volume of concept of geometry. So this is a major discriminating question. Another question is this one, question number E. This is not from graph. This is you have to find the value of R given that PQST square is 2R. So this is a 2-mark sum. This is another major discriminating question. So question number 11F, trigonometry 3D. This is another discriminating question. So let's take a look here. So here, question number this one, F. Calculate the size of angle PBC. So I told you it might not be obvious. This 5-mark question is another major discriminating question. That means many people couldn't answer this. They couldn't figure this out. So now let's talk about the minor discriminating question. What does it mean? Minor discriminating question, that means some part of the students, they could not do this. And that is also something that they mention because they want these concepts to be taken notice. so that you can do this in the next paper. So one is the inverse matrix, number 3b. So there were some people who could not figure out how to solve an equation using inverse matrix. Another one is median. Some students could not figure out how to find a median if a single data is not given. Instead, if you have a grouped data, so how to find the median from grouped data. And another one is the question number 8e, where you have to describe the transformation. So some people couldn't answer that, where you have a transformation and at the end you have to describe the transformation. And 9b and c, probability. I bet quite a number of people couldn't do this. So this is something that what happens. So once you know what happens to the rest of the world, that gives you a better idea for preparing. Let's take a look at question number 10, A and E here. So how the people did. So part A was one of the main discriminators of the paper. So this is one of the main discriminators of the paper, with many candidates not understanding what is required or simply omitted this part. So that means this was one of the main discriminating sum. This question number A, where you have to do the expression. Perhaps that's why they gave the answer here, so that even if you cannot do this, you can use this. So this was one of the main discriminating factors. Another one, parts E and thus part F proved elusive to all except the best, the ablest. So the last two also people faced the major problem, because here they did not tell us to find the value of R from the graph, but using algebra, where you put this value PQ equals to 2R. So that was another major discriminating factor. Okay, so question number 11 said part A to C were usually well done, thus demonstrating that most candidates have a good understanding of 2D trigonometry. Now the problem came from here. Part F was thus another discriminator of the paper and indicated that many candidates will still do not understand 3D trigonometry. So they're concerned about 3D trigonometry, whether candidates understand this. So the question here was, when you have a pole here and a pole here, and you are asked to find the value of PBC. So this one, question number F, this turned out to be a major problem. So what happens? What happens when most of the students cannot do something? Well, for that year, they usually do some sort of a curving to the mark, and the value of the percentage that they give for A is reduced. So that can happen. So when you see a sum that most people could not do in the exam, so you need not worry about it that much, because that would automatically lower the grade. So that's something. But you should take note, once you take a test, you should take note of the examiner's report and prepare well for the next paper by understanding what the examiners are trying to tell you. So this is the grade boundaries. Now you might notice most of the time the grade is given at 80%. This time, since there were some discriminating factors, if you got 70 in paper 2, that would ensure that you're going to get an A. Similarly, in paper 1 also, the grade is much lower than usual. So if you have a paper where you are unable to do many of the sums, you need not worry, because it's the paper that most people couldn't do. The grade would be lower.